Hello and welcome. I am Roy at Ninjazilla90, and today I will be doing a figure comparison on both the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 original version and the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 Heat Ray version, and going over the similarities and differences with each figure, and also going over improvements with the Heat Ray version and differences in paint scheme. So with that said, let's get started. And now here we have both the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2014 original and Heat Ray versions right here before us, and all of their super cool, awesome King of the Monsters glory. As you can see, one of the big differences with each figure is obviously paint scheme, like I was saying. The Heat Ray version sporting more of a darker charcoal gray colorization from all the night scenes in the Godzilla 2014 movie, and the original version, as you can see, he's more of like a dark, more like kind of more like a dark sort of like alligator type green colorization, and we can see that he has a very light tannish green underbelly right there on it, going from the top of his the bottom of his jaw down his neck, to his chest, to his belly, and to down the underneath of his tail. And as you can see, that is not present on the Heat Ray version. It is just one solid charcoal gray colorization. As you can see, a very big difference there. Obviously, one of the biggest differences is the dorsal spines and the materials each one of these figures is sculpted out of. This one, I believe, is just sculpted out of like I think it's like solid, like resin material. And this one, I think, I'm not sure if it's resin that Hiya uses. I'm not an expert on like materials and stuff companies manufacture action figures with, but this one is basically sculpted out of a translucent material. Yeah, and it shows, especially if you hold this one up to the light, you can see that he does have some slight transparency to him, and his dorsal spines also have some silver dry brushing to give it sort of like a icy blue, metallic shine effect for when he's to basically get more of a flash effect for when he's charging up his Heat Ray and his dorsal spines are flashing like you see in the movies. And of course, this one's just a regular release version, so you're just his dorsal spines are just kind of like just basically the same color as the rest of his body, technically. And of course, if you do look at the heads on both figures, let me bring them up. You can definitely notice the teeth is a lot more noticeable on the original release. As you can see, it does have that weathered bone white colorization there, where that is not present on the Heat Ray version. But that's not a downside. I think the Heat Ray version is pretty cool. I think they probably should have had that bone white colorization on the teeth, but I get it. It's supposed to be more of a darker paint scheme for more like the night scenes in the movie. So I guess, I mean, those bone white teeth are not going to be nearly as noticeable. So I think that's most likely why, because they're most likely trying to replicate, the darker night scenes from the movie. As you can see, we do have that very nice realistic membrane in there, and so do we also have the same thing on the original release. Inside of the mouths, the colorizations are a bit different. As you can see, the inside of the mouth on the original release is a very bright reddish pink, and on the Heat Ray version, it's more of sort of like a dark pinkish purple color. So some differences there, and also there's some big differences with the eyes on both figures as well. The eyes are definitely a lot. The eyes on the original release is definitely more brighter white, and you can definitely see his pupils a lot better. While the Hiya version, yeah, his eyes, have a little bit more of a darker tone to them. You can still see his irises and his pupils, but it's a little less noticeable than on the original release. So that's another major difference. Besides this one coming with an interchangeable head and a Heat Ray accessory, which I can't find. I don't know. I can't remember where I put his interchangeable head. It's somewhere. But yeah, if you watch my review on this one, I don't recommend using that interchangeable head too much, because especially with the Heat Ray, because it just makes the head top heavy and it just falls clean off like nothing. I think what they should have did was make like a little peg hole at the roof of the mouth and made this part like a little skinnier, so you can actually slip it in the mouth and have it lock in place without having to swap out the heads, like they did with the 1991 Heat Ray version. Which if you have the Heat Ray effect, it's also compatible with the original release as well. But anyway, one of the biggest improvements with the Heat Ray version, I would have to say, is definitely the hand and tail joints. The head joint, the ball joint on the top of the head, they still haven't improved that very much, because yeah, it comes off fairly easily on both. So I mean, there's still something left to be desired there. But other than that, the hands, the base hands that come out of the box, because I do have them with the claw, both his claw finger hands with this one, both symmetrical, because they stay on really good. I can turn them all the way around, and yeah, they're not popping off, and they're staying on relatively well, unlike the original release here. This is one of the reasons why I have this one with two different hands, because one of his other claw finger hand kept falling off, and in his other like closed fist hand on his opposite hand falls off like nobody's business at the slightest touch, and he just didn't want to stay on for anything in the world. So I had to put him with a claw finger hand and semi-close fist, like, gripping hand. So, that way, I would have at least 2 hands that pretty much stay on, for the most part, so they're not falling off. So, I'd rather have them with 2 hands that's not symmetrical than having hands falling off, although I do prefer my figures to have symmetrical hands. But anyway, here's one of the biggest improvements with the Hiya version is the ball joints on the tail are a lot tighter, and you're able to move them fluently without the tail popping apart, especially with this segment right here. See how I can wiggle that around and it's not coming off? Well, here's the problem with the original release. And it wasn't just mine, because I've seen multiple other people's reviews, and this was a common problem with the original release. This segment right here, that's supposed to be 2 different segments. I had to literally take some gel super glue and fuse those segments together into one segment, because it just kept falling off like nothing. Like, I would just sit it on the shelf and just pick it back up, and this part right here was not staying on the ball joint for nothing in the world, for the life of me. So I had to modify it with super glue, because I got this one from the Godzilla store. I didn't get this one from Big Bad, and I waited a long time to get it because I pre-ordered this one. But I still got it like months after I pre-ordered it. But this one definitely came with some flaws. But it wasn't just mine. A lot of people had some issues with their Hiya Toys Godzilla 2014 figure. But Hiya Toys definitely does improve on their work, especially when they have QC issues with some of their figure releases, especially if they have like a secondary release of like the same figure in a different color scheme, like this one, the Hiya version. You definitely do see improvements in that. It's something that I really like about Hiya Toys, because they listen to fans, unlike another overly expensive company that we know that, yeah, they make some good figures. Yeah, I've reviewed a lot of their figures, and we all know what we talk about. SH Monster Arts. As much as I love SH Monster Arts and Yuji Sakai's work, I think they need to make their figures a little bit more better quality, and where they hold together better, and have a little bit more reasonable pricing. But other than that, I still think they're cool. I'm still on the fence whether or rather not I'm going to seek out getting that SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2000, the Godzilla vs. Mechaguirus release. But yeah, I don't know if I want to pay $100 for a single figure when I can get like figures from Hiya Toys that serve the same purpose. Like, I know, there's an argument, being made that, with Hiya Toys, cheaper doesn't necessarily mean better. But I'm going to tell you the truth. More expensive doesn't necessarily mean better either. That's basically left up to personal preference and what you value most in your figures, to be honest. And basically it all depends on your personal budget as well, because, to be honest, not everybody has the budget for it, to keep up with SH Monster Arts. Some people just may not have the budget to collect Hiya Toys. But, Hiya Toys, I would say, is a more affordable option out of the two. Because, where you're going to be paying, like where SH Monster Arts, you're going to pay like double the triple the price for a certain Godzilla figure, to where you can get the Hiya Toys version for half to less than half the price of what SH charges for their versions. So, go figure. So basically, that's why I think I'm just going to wait it out for the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Godzilla 2000 to hit Big Bad Toy Store. I did pre-order those, which what I mean by those, I have the Godzilla 2000 and the 2001, the GMK on pre-order right now, so I'm going to try to hold those on pre-order. So, hopefully I can get them and review them for you guys. Because I'm really hoping to review those, because those are two, like, my top favorite Godzilla designs. And the 2014 Godzilla design I do really like as well. I think it's a pretty cool, unique take on him. Although, when we got to, the King of the Monsters movie with the 2019, I know there's a big time gap from 2014 to 2019, and we see him a bit bigger with some bigger, more iconic looking dorsal spines than the spiky looking dorsal spines here. But the explanation behind his dorsal spines being smaller and more spikier is because and I've read the comic book is from when he got the fight with the Muto Prime, and the Muto Prime shattered his dorsal spines, but he eventually defeated the Muto Prime, and his dorsal spines eventually grew back over time to their full normal size. But anyway, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this figure comparison. Also forgot one more thing. I said wraps it up, but I wanted to show you guys one more thing before I wrap it up, actually. Another big difference I noticed on the older and newer Hiya Toys releases is, if you look on the feet, you would definitely see official branding and serial numbers. This one you can see it's basically, it's engraved on this one. You see licensed by Toho, Legendary Pictures, Godzilla, and we have Hiya China, but it's a little bit harder to see because it's engraved. And this one, the Heat Ray version, which is a little bit more of a later release, as you can see, it's printed on. It says release 2025, Legendary Godzilla trademark Toho, and Hiya China right there. So I just wanted to show you that difference with the branding underneath the feet, how they did update it. Do apologize for nearly forgetting that, but anyway, guys, as I was saying, thank you guys all so much for watching. Your viewership is much appreciated. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And to sum it all up, stay safe, take care, stay positive, stay powered up, God bless, and peace out.